What up, dudes? Today we're going to be tackling Adam from Hazbin Hotel. Fully equipped with all of his angelic necessities, such as his wings and his gatax, all the magical abilities to go with it. So without further ado, let's get cooking. Starting off this build, let's talk about the race. Surprisingly, for an angelic warmonger, Adam is a bit of a toss-up with his race. I could see many arguments for many different races depending on how much you want to flavor it. So, I narrowed it down to two major races that I think we could pick from. Number one being, obviously, Aasimar. Specifically, Protector Aasimar, since Protector Aasimar gives us abilities like Celestial Resistance, granting us resistance to damage from Hell and Heaven in the forms of necrotic and radiant damage. On top of that, you also get Dark Vision. Then we have Healing Hands, a sort of regeneration that you can use, since we both know Adam would never use that on someone else. Healing other people just kind of isn't his thing. And then there's Light Bearer, which allows you to create some light. And then there's finally the biggest reason why I think Adam would be a Protector Aasimar, because of the Celestial Revelation Radiant Soul. It allows for 2 luminous spectral wings to sprout from your back. And until the transformation ends, you have a flying speed equal to your walking speed. Once on the end of each of your turns, you get to add additional radiant damage to one target when you deal damage to it with an attack or spell equal to your proficiency bonus. So, what I hear from that is, as an angel, you get the fancy wings and you get to deal a little bit more holy damage. So, I see no downsides here. Other races that I could definitely see working are Variant Human. He was the first man, so there is really no denying you there. For the sake of this build, we're going to be going with Protector Aasimar. Alright, now let's roll into ability scores. I will be using Standard Array. Feel free to roll for your stats if that's what you wish to do. I usually roll for my stats, but I'll use Standard Array just so we can give everyone kind of a baseline. Starting with our Strength, we're going to pump that into a 15. Dexterity, we're going to be granting it a 12. We've seen Adam fly around. He's very acrobatic in the air. Alright, now with Constitution, we're going to be pumping that with a 13. Adam took several blows from Lucifer and then proceeded to get back up with another proclamation of war. So, he's got some pretty good resolve. Next up is Intelligence. Now, I don't think it's a very hot take to say Adam is not a very intelligent person. So we're going to be giving him a 10. And then with Wisdom, we're going to be giving him an 8. I have never once thought that it would be wise for anyone, angels, first man, anyone, to insult Satan himself and then also annoy God's secretary. We end off with Charisma, which we're going to be laying our 14 on. Now, Adam isn't necessarily a charismatic character to most. However, I can 100% see how some would be able to see he is, especially in D&D terms, decipher how you're going to mix in performance with this, and also he's a very intimidating person, mostly to the denizens of hell. Well, let's move on to the background. Now, the background is something that I feel like a lot of D&D players really kind of just gloss over. It's not really something they think about beyond their backstory. And one thing the D&D Beyond allows that I really enjoy is the custom background. There is a lot of backgrounds, but there are some that I feel just don't give you the things you need in order to build your character to the maximum that it could be. So, we're going to be taking a custom background. Now, if you don't like using custom backgrounds, or your DM doesn't allow you to use custom backgrounds, some of the backgrounds I would advise would be Acolyte or Soldier. For the sake of this, we are going to be continuing with the custom background that I have titled First Man. In this, we gain 2 skill proficiencies, which I'm going to bump into History and Religion, and we also gain the Wild Space Adaptation background feature, which grants us the Tough feat completely for free, and we do not get disadvantage on any melee attack rolls for being weightless, which is going to be extremely helpful when you're flying. And alongside the background feature, we're going to be taking the suggested characteristics of the Acolyte. Dive into those if you wish. I will personally not be going over any of that in this. In the first level, we're going to take up Paladin. I know, big shocker. But Paladin allows us to have efficiencies. I'm going to be taking Athletics and Intimidation. Also at first level, you gain access to Divine Sense. Single-handedly, the most useless ability in all of D&D that honestly I thought had the most potential. It could have been a really interesting way of having like God or an oath bestow some sort of sixth divine sense on you so that you could tell what these otherworldly beings, where they are, what they are doing, like kind of like a spidey sense, and it would grant you a advantage against them if you were fighting these people with your divine sense. But no, it doesn't do any of that. What it does is it allows you to use your action to basically open your eyes. Yep, it allows you to instantly know the location of any celestial fiend or undead as long as they are within 60 feet of you, not behind total cover, and as a cherry on top, it'll even tell you which one it is. However, you don't know the identity of it, you just know that it is an angel, a demon, or a zombie. I'm sure it has a niche use that someone's going to tell me about in the comments. Anyway, on to the next ability. Also at first level, we get access to Lay on Hands, which just basically for you means more regeneration. Lay on Hands allows you to use an action to touch a creature and draw power from the pool of hit points that you create, pool to your Paladin level times 5. Expending 5 hit points from your pool can cure the target of a disease or neutralize a poison, which Adam doesn't really do. Now at second level, we gain 2 of the most useful abilities in all of D&D. Number 1, spellcasting, and number 2, personally, what I would vote to be the strongest ability in all of D&D, Divine Smite. Now Divine Smite is 100% your bread and butter for Paladin. You have to use it? No. Do I highly recommend you use it? Yes, and I'm sure the rest of your party would too. Now Divine Smite basically allows you to add additional radiant damage after hitting with a weapon. It allows you to add extra damage for every spell slot plus 1d8. So, expending a first level spell slot, you gain an additional 2d8 radiant damage on your melee hit. It is only melee attacks, and it doesn't technically apply to fists, but I would see no problem with using a fist. I mean, leave that one up to your DM, but it does have a maximum of 5d8 or 6d8 if you are hitting a undead or fiend. Additionally, if you're hitting an undead or fiend, then you automatically gain an additional 1d8. Now for spellcasting. Spellcasting is all over the place with D&D. Almost every class has it, and if they don't have it in their base values, then they 100% have a subclass that can do it. As to not clog up this video with even more of my talks about flavor, as you guys are probably aware, my stance on that when it comes to spells is flavor everything you do. I will be instead, at the very end of this video, be putting a list of these spells that I think would be best per level and some light flavor inspiration off to the side of it. Now, as for a fighting style, it is rather difficult to find one that worked for Adam. Now, since he is known for wearing full armor, I considered defense, I considered interception, or protection. I considered a lot of them, and the 2 that I would highly recommend to you would be to either use Great Weapon Fighting, Blessed Warrior, or Blind Fighting. However, for this build, I'm going to be taking Blessed Warrior. We're going to be taking the Guidance and Thaumaturgy spells. Now at 3rd level, you gain access to Divine Health, allowing you to become completely immune to disease. Most people don't play with diseases anyway, which honestly, I don't blame them. Also at 3rd level, we get to take upon a Sacred Oath. Now it took me quite a while to find out what kind of oath I wanted to have for Adam, since a lot of them make sense, but either didn't give him the abilities or didn't fit the character as well as I wanted it to. However, the one that makes the most sense in this case is the one that I went with. So we're going to be taking Oath of Conquest. Adam is known for leading the charge against hell and not really trying to conquer it, but more or less just have fun and kill people, Conquest fit best. And I'm going to go over some light flavor for the channel divinities in just a moment. Additionally, we gain access to our oath spells, and with channel divinity we gain access to conquering presence. This allows you to basically terrify anyone within 30 feet of you, so long as they fail a wisdom saving throw. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Adam, he's killed a lot of hell. I don't know the exact numbers. If someone who has slaughtered the majority of your people with a smile on his face walked up to you, I have a feeling you'd be pretty intimidated, and you wouldn't hesitate to call him terrifying. However, our other option, Guided Strike, simply allows us to add an additional +10 to the attack roll before knowing whether it hits or misses. You can, however, see the roll first. So, now, Adam doesn't necessarily have anything like this where he just gets to choose to hit, but he does enlarge his attacks to basically the size of a building whenever he fights Alistair. So, I am going to be using Guided Strike as a way to kind of just enlarge our axe so that we cover a lot more surface area, making it extremely hard for us to really miss. Ergo, the +10 bonus to the attack roll. Alright, now at level 4 we're going to be multiclassing into our first level of Bard. Now Bard is going to be the majority of this build, strictly because Adam easily had the greatest, if not second greatest, song in all of Hazbin Hotel Season 1. Now let's talk proficiencies. We gain access to a musical instrument and a skill to become proficient in. Now, there's not a guitar option in D&D, surprisingly. But I went with a lute. Simply, that's just the medieval guitar. So, there we are. We get a lute solo instead. As for our skill, I thought it was only fitting that our first level of Bard give us proficiency in performance. Also, at first level, we gain access to spellcasting. Please check the end of the description if you wish to see how I flavor the spells and what specific spells that they should take. Now, additionally, at first level, we gain access to Bardic Inspiration. It allows you to give any creature other than yourself within 60 feet of you a d6 that they can add to any ability check, attack roll, or saving throw. And you can do this a number of times equal to your charisma modifier, and the die increases as you gain more levels in Bard. Later on it'll become a d8 and a d10, finally capping at a d12. Alright, second level of Bard is we gain access to Jack of all trades. Now, while Adam isn't necessarily a super skillful person, I wouldn't necessarily say that he is a jack of all trades, but when you're as strong, intimidating, and powerful as he is, you can be good at whatever you say you're good at. So that's kind of what I'm going to be rocking with for this one. And then additionally, we gain Song of Rest, which allows you to play a guitar solo for you and your friends over the course of a rest, and gain an additional 1d6 hit points, which also increases, not with your Bardic Inspiration die, but it does increase the same way, to a d8, to d10, and finally capping out at d12 at level 17. Alright, third level of Bard, and we are going to be taking up a Bardic College. I went with College of Valor. You gain bonus proficiencies to things that we already had, so that doesn't really matter to you, but we also gain Combat Inspiration, which allows us to use our Bardic Inspiration and instead add it to a damage roll. Or, alternatively, have the creature use its reaction, and it can add the number rolled to its armor class against an attack. You can see the roll, but you don't get to know whether it hits or misses by the time you actually use the boost to your AC. Additionally, at level 3, we gain access to 2 expertises, meaning we get to double our proficiency bonus for 2 skills. I went with Performance and Athletics, because I felt like that fit Adam the best. And at level 4, we gain an ASI, Ability Score Improvement. Now, depending on if you rolled for stats or if you took Standard Array and you need to bump some of your scores up, I would highly recommend you get your Charisma to a 20 as soon as possible. And immediately after doing so, you start taking some feats, if your DM allows feats. Some feats that I'd highly recommend would be Great Weapon Master. If your DM didn't allow you to do the background feature, I would highly recommend Tough. It's
Some additional feats that are almost necessary for this kind of build would be Warcaster. I could even see some arguments for Mage Slayer with how he handled Alistair. Other than that, I would highly recommend you just boost your Charisma, your Constitution, and your Strength if you're not necessarily going to be taking feats or not allowed to take feats. If I had to put them in a certain ranking, I would say primary is Charisma, second up would be Constitution, third up would be Strength. Now at 8th level, we are going to be dabbling into another multi-class. A little bit more of a controversial one, if I'm being honest, at least in the D&D building scene. We're going to take one dip into Hexblade Warlock. Now I know what most of you are probably thinking. That's cringe, why would we do that? However, it actually kind of makes sense for Adam. Adam wields an axe that he can transform into a guitar. This is a heavenly object, something that he has imbued with heavenly magic and is made out of angelic steel. All of that basically to say that his axe is not necessarily using his strength for most of the cutting, most of the slashing, and most of the playing. It's using his magic. Hexblade is one way that we find a way to use our magic to lift the sword or to show that holy influence on our blade. However, if you feel like it is just too cringe or you just really would rather not be that guy and dip one blade into Hexblade Warlock, then feel free to just take an additional level of Bard. That's what I would recommend. The only change you're really finding by taking one more level of Bard rather than an additional level of Hexblade Warlock, you gain access to 9th level spells at the end of the build. With our 5th level of Bard, we gain Font of Inspiration, allowing us to regain all expended uses of Bardic Inspiration when you finish a short or long rest. Extremely useful, just a good little quick cleanser. Take an hour nap and then boom, you get all of your inspiration and combat inspirations back. At our 6th level of Bard, we gain 2 abilities, one of which we're not really going to be using all that much, but it is pretty helpful. First up, we gain extra attack, allowing us to hit a second time whenever we take the attack action on our turn. Other ability we gain at level 6 is Counter Charm. Now, this allows you to disrupt any influence upon something's mind as an action. Now, what that basically means is that as an action, you can start a performance that lasts from the beginning of your turn when you first take the action all the way until the end of your next turn. During that time, you and any friendly creatures within 30 feet of you have advantage on saving throws against being frightened or charmed. The creature has to be able to hear you, and if your song stops early by any means, then there is no bonus, obviously. 7th level is more spells, which will be in the card at the end. 8th level is another ability score improvement. Follow the previously mentioned rules for that. Level 9 is more spells. Level 10 of Bard, you gain 2 more expertise. I chose Religion and Intimidation. As Adam is the first man, there is absolutely no reason why he would not be proficient in Religion since he was here for basically all of it. Also at level 10, we gain access to Magical Secrets. The 2 spells I took from Magical Secrets were Banishment and Beacon of Hope, both of which we'll cover at the end where I talk about the flavor we're going to be using for them. Level 11 is more spells, level 12 is an ASI, level 13 is more spells, and then finally at level 14 we get access to more magical secrets. I took Summon Celestial and Disintegrate. Adam is known for always having Celestials by his side, whether it be loot or the entire armada of angels at his disposal. If you've seen Hazbin Hotel, you know very well that Adam can disintegrate things. I'll leave that there, I don't want to spoil anything. Also at level 14, we gain access to Battle Magic, allowing us to make a weapon attack as a bonus action so long as we cast a spell with our action. This allows us to always have 2 attacks, no matter if we use our action to attack or to cast a spell. Now this means that you can technically use your action to cast Booming Blade, and then follow that up with a secondary weapon attack, which is extremely beneficial, especially with later levels where your Booming Blade is exponentially stronger than it is now. 15th level is once again more spells, and at 16th level, or 20th level overall, we gain our final ability score improvement. This is your last chance to get your Charisma or Constitution up to a 20, or your Strength if you've already maxed out both of those, or take any feats that you wanted to throughout the class. Alright, that is the Adam build. I really like the way that this one turned out. I think it's great. It follows the same sort of fighting style that Adam has. It's definitely a bit more of a basic min-maxer type of build,
but also Adam is definitely a min-maxer, if we're being completely honest. And one final note, you can't use a great axe with hex weapon, which if your DM allows that, more power to them. I fully would support that. But just in case your DM isn't chill like that, I opted to use the battle axe for this build. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know if you enjoyed the video. If you have any suggestions for future characters, or let me know if there's anyone else you'd like me to build in the future. I hope you all enjoyed.